What if you went to a glass tower to beg a billionaire to erase your father's debt? And instead of asking for your body, he only asked you to have dinner with him, again and again, until both of your broken lives started to change. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, so you don't miss the next slow burn stories of love, healing, and second chances that don't look perfect on paper. By the time Harper Cole found the letter, the soup on the stove had already started to burn. She didn't smell it at first. She was too busy reading the numbers. $48, $327.19. Her father's trembling signature at the bottom. The neat logo in the corner, Everhart Group. Repayment schedule like a slow, merciless drumbeat. Behind her, from the living room couch, came the soft sound of the TV, some old game show her dad liked to half-watch, and the occasional wheeze of his breathing. Since the stroke, everything about him seemed quieter and smaller, except the bills. Harper, his voice called, just a little slurred. Smells like, is that soup? She snapped out of it. Yeah, Dad, it's shoot. She rushed to the stove, turned off the burner, and lifted the pot. The top layer of chicken broth was fine. The bottom carried the faint, bitter tang of almost burnt. Great, she muttered. She ladled the good part into 2 bowls, hiding the damage. In the living room, Henry Cole sat propped up on pillows, his gray hair sticking in different directions, one hand still weaker than the other. He gave her a crooked smile as she set the tray down. You're an angel, he said. Your angel needs a raise, she replied, trying to sound light. He chuckled, then coughed. The letter lay folded on the counter behind her, like a weight in the room. Dad, she said, turning back. What is Everhart Group? He frowned. The hospital financing, he said slowly. The man in the suit. He said I could pay later. I didn't want you to. He trailed off, guilt shading his face. Her chest tightened. You signed a loan, didn't you? A small one, he said quickly. I thought I could. Once I went back to work. You can't even climb the stairs without getting dizzy, she said, softer than the words sounded. How were you going to pay $48,000 back? He flinched. That much, he whispered. She swallowed. It's okay, she added quickly, even though nothing about it felt okay. I'll figure something out. Harper, eat your soup, Dad. She smiled, the way you smile when there's no other choice, and went back to the kitchen. The letter waited. She stared at the numbers again, at the smooth logo, at the signature. Everhart Group. The city skyline glinted behind those words in every ad she'd ever seen. A tower of glass downtown with a name at the top and a man inside it who probably never thought about people like her. She folded the page with care, as if she could control at least that. Then she pulled out her old laptop and opened the Everhart website. There he was, Adrian Everhart, black suit, gray tie, jaw clenched like someone had carved it from stone and then told him not to move. Headlines about disrupting healthcare financing, innovating charitable giving, a CEO with a heart of logic. She stared at his picture a long time. She had been called a lot of things. Soft, big-boned, too much. He looked like the opposite of all of that. The thought of walking into that tower and asking for his mercy made her stomach flip. She did the math anyway. Her boutique job, the occasional shift at the supermarket, her dad's disability check. If she funneled every spare cent toward the debt, didn't buy a single extra thing, didn't replace her worn-out sneakers, didn't pay for internet, it would take years. Years of him watching the number barely move. Years of him apologizing every time she came home late. She could feel the years pressing down already. In her bedroom, under the bed, the cardboard box sat where it had for 5 years. She knelt and slid it out. Inside, under old magazines and scraps of fabric, lay a stack of sketchbooks. Dresses, jumpsuits, coats, all drawn for bodies like hers, soft stomachs, broad hips, big arms with draping and lines that didn't pretend those bodies weren't real. Shape and story. She had written on the first page once, in a burst of hope, your shape, your story. She'd closed the book the day after prom. She pushed the lid back on and shoved the box under the bed. She had a different story to tell now. Debt. Responsibility. She made an appointment online with the Everhart Group before she could change her mind. The lobby of Everhart Tower was not built for people like her. It was glass and stone and steel and the echo of expensive shoes. People in sleek suits moved with the confidence of those who had never had to count pennies. The receptionist's smile was professional and quick. Name, she asked. Harper Cole, Harper said, smoothing her thrift store blazer. I have an appointment with Mr. Everhart's office. The receptionist's eyes flicked over her once, then back to the screen. Something about that tiny movement made warmth crawl up Harper's neck. She knew that look. You don't belong here, look. Please have a seat, the woman said. Someone will escort you up shortly. Harper sat on a hard leather bench, her thighs pressed against the edge. The lobby's big windows reflected everything back at her, the rounded lines of her body, the nervous twist of her hands. She took a slow breath and counted backward from 10. I am not my prom photo, she told herself. I am not some joke the internet saved. The elevator dinged. A young assistant with perfect hair and a tablet greeted her. Mrs. Cole, this way, please. The ride up was smooth and silent. Floors lit up in a soft, ascending line. The higher they went, the more the city sprawled beneath them. By the time they reached the top, Harper's palms were slick. The assistant led her down a hallway lined with glass walls and closed doors, then paused at one at the very end. He's ready for you, the woman said. The office was bigger than Harper's entire apartment. One wall was glass from floor to ceiling, overlooking the city. Another held shelves of books and awards. The desk in the center was dark wood, neat and precise. Behind it, Adrian Everhart stood. He was thinner than his pictures, in the way that movie stars look different in person, more angles, more shadows. His suit was simple, expensive in the way that didn't need to show off. His tie was gray, his hair darker than the steel around him. His eyes were the only thing that didn't look carefully arranged. They were tired. Miss Cole, he said, please, sit. She crossed the room, acutely aware of the sound of her shoes on the polished floor, and lowered herself into the chair opposite his desk. Her tote bag slumped against the leg of the chair, half zipped. A pen had drawn little lines of ink along the canvas. She saw his gaze flick down briefly to the doodled outlines of a dress near the strap. He'd crawled up her neck again. Thank you for seeing me, she said. People don't often request to see me in person about loan schedules, he replied. I was curious. He said it like a fact, not a compliment. She put the letter on his desk. My father, she began, had a stroke last year. He signed this when he was scared and in pain. He thought he'd be going back to work. He's not. He can't. Adrian picked up the paper, scanned it. Our contracts are clear. Ms. Cole, he said. We offer payment plans, reduced interest compared to most. I'm not asking you to erase it, she said quickly. Not exactly, Weethy. His eyebrows lifted a fraction. I'm asking, she continued, choosing each word, if you can transfer the debt to my name, I'll sign whatever you need. I'll pick up extra shifts. I'll do any work you have, administrative, cleaning, deliveries, anything that's legal. Just stop sending letters with his name on them. He thinks he ruined my life. He apologizes every time a bill comes. I can't watch that. Her voice shook. She swallowed. I'm not saying I shouldn't pay, she added. He needed help. You helped. I understand that. I'm just asking you to let me carry it instead. Silence settled between them. From this height, the cars outside looked like toys. Adrian leaned back in his chair, tapping the edge of the paper once against the desk. You'd take a $48,000 debt onto your own record, he said, for his peace of mind. Yes, you realize with your current income, he glanced at the notes on the file, that could take you more than a decade to pay off. I know, and you changed nothing about his medical care to shorten that time. That's non-negotiable, she said. He watched her a moment longer. Most people in your position, he said quietly, come in to demand forgiveness, or to tell me we're monsters. Forgiveness would be nice, she said, But I don't think the world works that way. I made peace with that a long time ago. Something flickered across his face. You're willing to do any work, he repeated. As long as it's legal, she said, and I'm not selling pieces of myself. His mouth twitched, almost like he wanted to smile and didn't remember how. I appreciate the clarification, he said dryly. Thank you for not offering criminal activity. Nerves buzzed under her skin. This isn't a game to me, she said. It isn't to me either, he replied. He set the letter down, placing his fingertips on either side of it as if weighing more than paper. I'm not going to transfer the debt to your name, he said. Something in her dropped. She gripped the arms of the chair. I understand, she said, voice flat. But, he added, the word hung there, fragile. But, he continued, I will make you a different offer. She looked up, wary. I have no need, he said, for another assistant, cleaner, or personal chef. And for the record, Everhart Group does not accept repayment in the form of anyone's body. The way he said it, calm and precise, should have made her feel better. It also made her want to sink into the floor. Good to know, she muttered. What I do lack, he said, is company, outside of business. She blinked. I'm sorry, she asked. He exhaled slowly as if measuring his own courage. Once a week, he said, dinner, neutral place, public or private, no contracts, no payments. We eat, we talk. You can insult my tie if you want. If either of us wants to stop, we stop. After 3 months, if you've kept coming, you and I will revisit the terms of your father's loan. Her brain snagged. You're offering to go on dates with me, she said, so I can maybe renegotiate a debt. His jaw tightened. I'm offering to have dinner with you, he said. That's all. And what do you get out of that? A break from being a man who only talks about numbers. He said simply, I have more money than I can spend in 10 lifetimes. Ms. Cole, I don't have anyone who looks at me and doesn't see a headline or a sales pitch. He held her gaze. You're here for your father, he added. You looked at the terms before you asked for mercy. You drew a dress on your bag. I find that interesting. Her cheeks burned. You could have any woman you want, she said. It came out sharper than she intended. Someone tall and thin and perfect. Why me? His eyes flicked briefly over her again. The slope of her shoulders. The way she sat as if trying not to take up space. I didn't say I could have any woman I want, he replied. And I'm not looking for a decoration. I'm looking for dinner. Silence stretched. She heard her heartbeat, the faint hum of the building, the whisper of air conditioning. This man was offering her nothing she'd been taught to expect. No handout, no punishment, just a series of meals with a door that stayed unlocked. It sounded almost like kindness and almost like trouble. It doesn't change the math, she said. 48,000 is still 48,000. It changes who carries it, he said. And how? Her throat felt tight. Once a week, she repeated. Yes, no contracts. None. You have my word. You can't call in some clause later and claim I owe you more. If I try, he said, you can throw your soup on me. She snorted, despite herself. That would be a waste of soup, she said. He tipped his head. Then don't throw the soup, he said. Just walk away. She thought of her father's face when he saw the letters. The way his shoulders hunched, like he was already carrying the weight of being a burden. She thought of the box under her bed. Her whole life was already a compromise. Maybe one more wouldn't break her. Fine, she said. Dinner. He nodded once. I'll have my assistant send you the details, he said. She stood, knees a little wobbly. Her tote bag caught on the chair. Before she could bend down, he had already moved around the desk, picking it up and setting it gently on the seat. His fingers brushed the ink lines. Did you draw this, he asked. She hesitated. Yes, it's good, he said. She blinked. Thank you, she said. It had been a long time since anyone had told her that about something she'd made. Almost long enough to forget what it felt like. The Italian restaurant had a room in the back with a single window and a view of rain. Harper arrived early, because she didn't know where to put her hands or how to walk into a place like this without feeling like an accident. The host led her to the private room. She sat at the table and stared at the empty chair across from hers, at the gleaming cutlery, at the wine glasses that looked fragile enough to shatter in her fingers. She had chosen a dress she'd sewn herself, out of a soft, dark green fabric that draped instead of clinging. It didn't make her look smaller. It just made her feel like the lines of her body were intentional. Still, when she saw her reflection in the window, she fought the urge to fold in on herself. The door opened. Adrian stepped in, the rain dotted on his shoulders, his hair slightly damp, as if he had walked rather than been driven. "Miss Cole," he said. "Harper," she replied. "If we're going to keep doing this, you should probably know my first name." "Harper," he repeated. She tried not to like the way it sounded in his mouth. A waiter poured water, asked about wine, retreated. The table between them felt too wide and too small at the same time. Harper picked up the menu. Everything had long names and ingredients she vaguely recognized from cooking shows. She chewed her lower lip. "Would you like me to recommend something?" Adrian asked. "Is that an Everhart Group executive decision?" she said. "A personal one," he said. "Contrary to popular belief, I do eat." She huffed a quiet laugh. "Fine," she said. "You decide." He suggested a pasta, something with slow-cooked sauce and a simple salad. When the food came, she realized the problem wasn't what to eat. It was how. Prom had taught her that the world watched girls like her when they ate, waiting for proof they deserved their size. Her fingers tightened on the fork. Adrian noticed. Without comment, he signaled the waiter. "Could we swap the cutlery?" he asked. "Just a standard fork and knife." The waiter blinked, surprised but obliging. Harper exhaled. "Fine dining, Everhart style," she said lightly. "You rebel." He shrugged. "I've never seen the point of making people fight their plates," he said. They ate. He asked her about her father. She asked him about his citywide empire. He talked about numbers like they were stories. She talked about customers like they were characters. At some point, he asked, "Do you still draw?" She froze. "I doodle," she said. "That tote bag of yours," he replied. "Those weren't doodles. They weren't enough," she said. "Not for a portfolio, not for the program I wanted, not for anything." "Who told you that?" he asked. Prom photos flashed behind her eyes. "A lot of people," she said loudly. He didn't press. When the rain started outside, they both went quiet. The sound against the glass was steady, a gray curtain over the city lights. For a moment, the room felt suspended. "I used to like nights like this," he said eventually, "when I could stay home and read while it rained." "What changed?" she asked. "I decided the world needed me to be more useful," he said. "So I built something that could help. And now it's very useful," he said, "and very loud. The rain is the only quiet I get." She understood that, in a way. She made a pot of soup every Sunday for the same reason. "I made chicken soup last night," she said. "For my dad, low salt at the doctor's orders. No garlic because he insists it gives him nightmares." Adrian's mouth quirked. "My mother is the same," he said. "Low salt, no garlic, 1,000 complaints about the bland food at the facility." Harper tilted her head. "Do they let people bring homemade food in?" she asked him. "They do?" He said, "If you want to." She thought of her father's smile when she handed him a bowl, of the way feeding someone made the world feel less uncertain for a minute. "Next Sunday," she said, "if you pick me up and don't let me get lost in your fancy halls." "Deal," he said. The second dinner led to a Sunday visit to a quiet nursing home, where Adrian's mother half believed Harper was someone she'd known before and half just liked her soup. The third dinner led to a conversation about books and the strange way grief could make you forget how to read for pleasure. The fourth led to a fundraiser. Harper didn't realize there would be cameras. She should have. The event was for a children's hospital. Adrian was on the board. The hotel ballroom was filled with people in gowns and tuxes, waiters weaving through with trays. He'd asked her to come. Why she'd asked? Because if I don't bring someone, he'd said, the PR team will accidentally seat me beside whichever actress is between projects and wants to be photographed with a billionaire. I'd rather spend the evening with someone who asks how the kids are doing instead of my net worth. Now, in the bathroom, under two bright lights, Harper stared at herself. She wore a dress she'd made deep red, with a neckline that honored her shoulders and a waist that followed her actual waist instead of slicing it in half. It was the kind of dress she'd always wanted to design for girls like her. She felt good in it, until another woman walked in, willowy and silver, with cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass. The woman glanced at Harper, then at her own reflection, and reapplied lipstick with practiced ease. Harper looked away. When she stepped into the ballroom, Adrian's gaze found her. For a second, his face changed. The CEO mask slipped, and something softer, almost stunned, looked back at her. "You look," he began, "like I dressed up to beg for mercy," she supplied, trying to deflect. "Like yourself," he said. Finally, her throat tightened. Later, between speeches, she noticed a girl near the dessert table, maybe 13, hovering around the trays. Her dress was too tight across her chest. Her arms were bare and tense. She picked up a chocolate tart, looked at it like it was a test, then set it down. Harper recognized the set of her shoulders, the shame, the math of calories, the invisible audience. She walked over. "You should try the lemon one," she said casually. "It's the best." The girl glanced at her. "My mom says I shouldn't." She said, "I've gotten bigger this year." Harper picked up a lemon tart, took a bite. "Bodies grow," she said, "especially when they're busy keeping people alive. That tart will not ruin anything except your desire to eat mediocre desserts in the future." The girl snorted. She chose one. As she bit into it, Harper caught Adrian watching from across the room. His expression was that same soft one, like he'd found something he hadn't known he was looking for. She didn't know someone else was watching too. The next morning, her phone buzzed relentlessly. She ignored it until her coworker at the boutique shoved her own screen in Harper's face. "Did you see this?" she asked. On the screen was a headline. "A plus-size sweetheart or a PR pawn billionaire's mystery date raises eyebrows." The photo underneath showed Harper in her red dress, a lemon tart halfway to her mouth, Adrian in the background, eyes on her. The article speculated, single mom, rags to riches, a stunt. The comments were worse. "He's brave to be seen with her. He must really need a distraction from that lawsuit. Does she know what a gym is? She's clearly in it for the money." Something in Harper that had been slowly healing tore open. Prom. The picture of her with a ripped dress, mascara streaked, as her ex laughed with his arm around another girl. The meme that had been made. The comments about whales and circus acts. Her fingers shook. She locked her phone. She didn't go to the fifth dinner. She didn't go to the boutique the next day. She texted them that she was sick and called the supermarket back to pick up late shifts in the fluorescent aisles where nobody looked at her long enough to recognize her from an article. When Adrian's calls came, she let them ring. A statement appeared on Everhart's official social media. She hadn't opened it, but the world did. It was longer than most corporate responses. No lawyerly half-sentences, no alleged. He wrote about shame, about how it had attached itself to bodies like barnacles. He wrote about growing up with a mother who had been told to watch her figure more often than anyone had watched her health. He wrote about medical systems that assign value based on BMI instead of pain. He wrote, "If the worst thing you can say about a woman is that she takes up space in a room, maybe the problem is the room, not the woman." He did not mention Harper's name. He did not need to. The article went viral. Some people applauded. Some rolled their eyes and accused him of pandering. Harper read it in the break room of the supermarket, sitting on a plastic chair with a vending machine humming beside her. It was strange, seeing herself between the lines of something so public. It didn't fix the ache, but it made a small, stubborn warmth light up somewhere low in her chest. On Sunday, it rained. She left her shift at the supermarket, a thin plastic raincoat over her clothes, her cheap sneakers already soaking through. The parking lot glistened under the streetlights, puddles reflecting neon signs. She pushed a cart back to the corral, head ducked against the wind. "Harper." She froze. He stood by a small, unremarkable sedan. No driver, no umbrella. Rain flattened his hair and darkened his shirt. He looked like the pictures online, and nothing like them. He looked human. Are you stalking me now? She asked. Her voice came out more tired than sharp. I asked your father where you were, he said. He said you were back where the fluorescent lights hum. She exhaled. I should have known, she said. He doesn't keep secrets well. I'm not here to drag you to dinner, he said. I just didn't want the last word between us to be silence. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small, rectangular box, the velvet dark and damp around the edges. I brought you something, he said. If that's a scale, she said, I'm going to throw it in the nearest puddle. He actually laughed. No, he said, not a scale. He opened the box. Inside lay a fountain pen, simple and sleek. On the side, small letters were engraved. All right. She stared. I remembered you said you used to draw with whatever you had, he said, that you never had proper tools. It's ridiculous. You can make art with anything. But still, I wanted you to have something that felt like a promise. You think a pen fixes an article, she asked softly. No, he said. I think it fixes nothing. This isn't about fixing. It's about telling you the truth. He met her eyes. The debt, he said, your father's, it's gone. Her heart lurched. What she whispered. I erased it months ago, he said. Before you came to my office, before the first dinner, the rain seemed suddenly louder. You what she asked? He swallowed. I saw his fear. He said, the day we approved his loan, a widower with a daughter who worked 3 jobs, a stroke on top of everything. I ran the numbers and realized the only way that debt would get paid off was if one of you broke. He looked down at his hands. I don't build this company to break people, he said. So I zeroed it out. I told myself it was a rounding error. We have a fund for hardship cases. I signed the papers. You let me come begging anyway, she said. I didn't invite you, he replied. You asked for a meeting. I was going to tell you in the room. But you didn't. No, he admitted, because you sat across from me and offered to carry it all. And I thought, if I tell her now, she'll leave. She'll smile, say thank you, and walk out of my office and I'll never see her again. His voice went rough. I have lost enough people in rooms like that, he said. I couldn't bear the thought of adding your back to that list. The wind tugged at her coat. So you lied, she said. I omitted, he said, which is a coward's word for lying. Yes, because you wanted dinners. Because I wanted, he stopped, searching for the right words. I wanted to remember what it felt like to be looked at and not measured. I wanted the way you talk about soup, about dresses, about your father. I wanted you. Her throat burned. And you thought the only way I'd stay, she said, was if I owed you something. Yes, he said quietly. She looked at the pen again. Harper Cole, Harper creator, Harper, who had once believed her hands could make something beautiful. You don't know how to keep people, she said softly. You just know how to hold contracts. I'm learning, he said, very badly. She let that sit. The rain, their breathing, the distant beep of a reversing truck. You should have told me, she said. I deserve that much. You did. He said, I'm sorry. She closed the box and slipped it into her pocket. I'm not coming back to dinner because you bought me a pen, she said. He nodded. I know, but I'm not running away because some strangers on the internet can't stand the idea of a fat girl being seen with you either, she added. That's progress for me. Something like relief flickered across his face. I'll take progress, he said. She turned toward her car. Harper, he said. She glanced back. I'll send you something, he said. When I find the courage to tell all of the truth, if you come back, it will be because you want to, not because you think you have to pay me. She didn't answer, but she didn't tell him not to, either. The email from the TV show came a week later. She nearly deleted it as spam, inside and out, a transformation story. They'd seen her photo. Of course, everyone in media had. They'd seen Adrian's statement too. They wanted to do a special, we'd love to help you become the woman you were always meant to be, the producer wrote. inside and out. Think of it as a journey from everyday girl to the partner worthy of a CEO. The word hit her like a slap. Worthy. She stood in the narrow apartment hallway, phone in hand, heart pounding. Was that how the world saw her? Some unfinished product in need of refinement to stand beside a man like him. She opened her closet. Dark clothes lined the rod. Black, navy, gray, all chosen not because she loved them, but because they faded into backgrounds. She touched the dress she'd worn to the fundraiser. Red, bold, her design. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a notification from her burner Instagram account. At Shape and Story, someone had tagged her in a post. A girl in a prom dress one Harper had sketched months ago and posted as a rough design. The girl had had it made by a local seamstress. She was laughing in the photo, arms out, soft stomach unapologetic. Thank you, Shape and Story. The caption read, for making me feel like my body deserved a dress, not a disguise. Harper sank onto the edge of her bed. Her eyes stung. She had been drawing for strangers online, encouraging them to be seen, while still hiding herself. Who was she to talk about worthiness? Her gaze slid to the top of her father's dresser. The Everhart logo stared back at her from an envelope. She hadn't meant to pick it up, but it was there, heavy with something unsaid. She opened it. Inside was a copy of the letter her father had gotten months ago. It stated, in calm legal language, that his balance had been reduced to zero, paid by internal hardship funds, authorized by one signature. Everhart. The date was months before Harper had set foot in his office. Her breath left her. Rain in the parking lot, the admission in his voice. He hadn't been lying then. He'd lied earlier. He'd lied with silence. But the decision to erase the debt had nothing to do with her dinners, or her body, or her worth. She pressed the paper to her chest, then let her hand fall. Anger bubbled up. Not white hot, just deepen. How many nights had she lost sleep, feeling the weight of those numbers when she didn't need to? How many things had he chosen for her, without her consent, because he was afraid? Her father called from the couch. Harper, everything okay? She looked at him, at the way his face brightened when she entered the room, at the way he had never once asked her to be smaller for his sake. Yeah, she said, everything's changing. What's that, he asked, nodding at the paper. Proof, she said, that I'm not crazy. He chuckled, not understanding. She went to her room and pulled the cardboard box out from under the bed. Sketchbooks spilled onto the floor. She picked up the oldest one and flipped to the first page. Shape and Story stared back at her in bold, uncertain lines. She picked up the pen Adrian had given her. Its weight felt right in her hand. She added a new word, Shape and Story, by Harper Cole. Then she picked up her phone and called his office. He met her in the same glass-walled room where everything had started. This time, she walked in wearing a dress she'd made the night before, a deep teal that hugged instead of hid. Her hair was up, curls pinned with silver clips. She wore no apology. Adrian stood when she entered. Harper, he said. She closed the door behind her. For the record, she said, I said no to the makeover show. One of my PR people mentioned that. He replied, apparently they were very disappointed they couldn't turn you into their narrative about worthiness. Seems to be a theme, she said. His jaw tightened. You found the letter, he said. Yes, she said. The one you sent my father months ago. The one that said his debt was gone before I ever met you. He didn't deny it. You lied to me, she said, stepping closer. You let me stand in this room and offer to drown for you when I was already on dry land. You watched me count pennies and skip groceries. You watched me sit across from you thinking I was less, and you let me. His eyes flickered, pain threading through. I did, he said. I told myself that erased debt was abstract, that you didn't need to know because nothing would change in your daily life. I told myself a lot of things. None of them make it right. Why, she demanded. Why would you do that to someone you claim to care about? Because I am very good at saving things with signatures, he said, and very bad at trusting people to choose to stay without strings. He moved around the desk, closer, but not too close. I loved Lila, he said quietly. She knew me before this. He gestured to the office, the building, the skyline, before the numbers, before the press. She walked into my life when I was a skinny kid who wrote poems on napkins and believed money was something other people had. He swallowed. She got sick, he said. I threw everything I had at it: money, contacts, experimental treatments. It didn't matter. She died anyway. His voice didn't break. It was too exhausted to break. After that, he continued, I made myself a bargain. If I could control the variable, if I could make sure there were no unpaid bills, no missed doses, no fragile circumstances, then maybe I wouldn't lose anyone else. He met her eyes. And then you showed up, he said, carrying your father's guilt on your own back like it belonged to you. And I saw myself in that. I saw someone who would erase herself to keep the people she loved from feeling bad. I thought I knew better. So I made the decision for you. That's not love, she said. That's fear wearing a hero mask. Yes, he said, it is. He took a breath. I cannot undo the nights you lay awake doing math you didn't need to do, he said. I can't unburn your soup. I can't unscatter the pieces of trust I dropped. Silence stretched, heavy and fragile. But I can tell you this, he added. You've never owed me anything. Not money, not dinners, not your presence. If you walk out that door and never look back, I'll sign whatever you need to make sure nothing I control touches your life again. Her fingers tightened on the strap of her bag. You'd let me go that easily, she asked. No, he said. It would not be easy, but I would do it. Because holding you here with lies is worse than losing you. She swallowed. What if I don't want your martyr act either, she asked. He blinked. What if I want you to fight for me, she said. But with the truth, not with contracts, not with statements, with yourself. For the first time since she'd met him, the controlled, practiced part of his face fully cracked. He looked terrified. I don't know how, he admitted. Then learn, she said. He let out a shaky breath. There's something else I want to show you, he said. If you'll come. If this is a dramatic reveal involving a private island, I'm going home, she said. He almost smiled. No islands, he said, just a lake house. New Hampshire smelled like pine needles and rain. The Everhart Lake House sat a little apart from the others on the wooded road. It was a two-story cabin of weathered wood and wide windows. Shutters closed, porch empty. Adrian parked, killed the engine, and sat for a moment. I haven't been here since she died, he said. Lila, Harper said. Yes. Why now, she asked. Because this is where I learned to love, he said. If I'm going to learn to do it again, I thought, maybe we should start at the place where I stopped. They stepped out of the car. The porch creaked under their feet. He unlocked the door. The air inside was stale, but not unfriendly. Dust caught in beams of light. Furniture was covered with white sheets like snowdrifts. They moved through the rooms together, uncovering furniture, opening windows, letting in fresh air. In the kitchen, on a wall near the pantry, faint chalk letters still clung. Lines of poetry, half-erased recipes, childish doodles, L+A in the center, encircled by a heart. Harper traced one of the sentences with her fingertip. We must risk delight. Lila made me write that, Adrian said. Every time I started talking about stock prices, she'd point to it. I like her, Harper said. I thought you might, he replied. He leaned against the counter, watching her. You're not threatened, he asked. By a dead woman who clearly had good taste, she said. No, she loved you. You loved her. That's real. But she's not here now. I am, he exhaled. You are, he said. She picked up a piece of chalk from the sill. What are you doing? He asked. Adding my own graffiti, she said. She wrote, under the faded quote, your shape, your story, H.C. He smiled, small and surprised. They spent the afternoon cleaning, sweeping out cobwebs, dragging a heavy rug onto the porch to beat it. He rolled up his sleeves. She tied her hair back. Neither of them talked much. It was work, ordinary work. It felt like breathing. As the sun dipped low, painting the lake gold, Adrian went to the small shed by the side of the house. I made something, he said, dragging it out. It was a chair. Simple, wooden, sturdy, but not polished. The kind of chair someone built with their own hands, sanding out the splinters as they went. On the top of the backrest, letters were carved, a little uneven. Oui. See? Harper's throat tightened. You made this, she said. Yes, for me, before I knew your name, he said. I started it when I didn't know what to do with my hands anymore. Lila was gone. The office didn't need a pair of hands. It needed an algorithm. So I came here and taught myself to make something that wasn't a spreadsheet. He ran his fingers over the carved initials. I didn't know who I was carving that for, he said. Just that I wanted there to be a seat, waiting someday, for someone who made the house feel less empty. He looked at her. Now I know, he said. She stepped closer. This isn't a proposal, he said quickly. There's no ring in the cushion. I'm not asking you to marry me on a porch full of dust and dead spiders. Thank God, she said, and laughed, the sound catching in the evening air. This is a statement, he said, of a different kind. In every room I picture my life in, there is a table, and beside me, at that table, there is a chair with your name on it. Not because you owe me, not because I saved you from anything, because you are the person I want to argue with about soup recipes when we're 80. His voice shook. I can't promise there won't be headlines, he said, or that I won't revert to signing things behind your back when I panic. I can only promise to let you hit me over the head with this chair when I do. She snorted, wiping at her eyes. That's not how you use chairs, she said. I'm improvising, he said. He took a breath. If you don't want this, he added, tell me. I will put the chair away. I will keep my distance. I will make sure Everhart never touches your life again. You will never owe me an explanation. She looked at the chair, at the house, at the wall inside with two sets of initials now, not competing, just existing. You've spent a long time deciding what other people need, she said softly. Maybe it's time you let them decide too. She sat down. The chair creaked a little under her weight, then held. What if I want this, she said, but only if I get to choose it every day. Not because of debt, not because of pity, because I wake up and decide I'm Harper Cole. I like my body. I love my father. I design for girls like me. And I love this annoying, control freak CEO who thinks chairs are proposals. He laughed, tears in his eyes. I'm okay with, he said. I want you to choose yourself first, then me, every time. She reached for his hand. Then pull up your own chair, she said. We got walls to write on. The sign over the boutique window was hand-painted. Shape and story. Your shape, your story. It had taken Harper 3 years to get from that porch to this street. 3 years of night classes in pattern making and business. 3 years of Adrian asking, what do you need? And then learning, slowly, that the answer was not always money. 3 years of building racks, sewing samples, taking measurements in cramped back rooms. Now, sunlight poured through the glass onto mannequins in sizes the fashion world still called extended. They wore dresses that flowed and hugged and shone. Photos lined one wall, girls and women in prom gowns, wedding gowns, party dresses, some with oxygen tubes, some with wheelchairs, all of them laughing. Harper stood with a measuring tape around her neck, pinning the hem of a skirt on a teenager who kept apologizing for jiggling. Stop saying sorry, Harper murmured. If the fabric can't handle you dancing in it, it doesn't deserve you. The girl giggled. Do you really think I'll look good? She asked. I think you'll look like yourself, Harper said. And that's the whole point. At the back of the shop, in a little corner by the fitting rooms, a wooden chair sat. The initials now read H with some E, Harper Cole Everhart. On the wall above it, framed, was a photo of a woman in a red dress, caught mid-laugh, a lemon tart in her hand. A man in a dark suit looked at her like her laughter was the first true thing he'd heard all night. Underneath, In small letters, someone had written, "We must risk delight." The bell over the door chimed. Adrian walked in carrying 2 cups of tea. A kid in the corner, scrolling his phone, looked up, blinked, and then went back to his game, unimpressed. Adrian handed Harper a cup, then got pulled into holding a bag of pins while one of the seamstresses adjusted a bodice. He looked entirely at ease. "Busy?" he asked when he finally stepped aside. "Good busy," she said. He sat in the chair watching as Harper showed a new client's sketches. Once, he would have insisted on sitting at the center of every room. Now, he was content to be background furniture in her space. When the last customer left and the open sign flipped to closed, Harper sank onto the floor amid scraps of fabric. Adrian joined her, suit jacket off, tie loosened. She pulled out her pen. She sketched, lines flowing, dresses forming, each one wrapping around a body that took up space without apology. "What are you drawing?" he asked. "Fall collection," she said. "I'm thinking rich colors. Nothing that hides anything." "Sounds perfect," he said. She bumped his shoulder. "You know," she said, "if you ever sign something big without telling me again, I'm not hitting you with the chair." "No," he asked. "No," she said. "I'm making you wear one of these dresses and stand in the window." He laughed. "I'd bankrupt us in an hour," he said. "Maybe," she said. "Or maybe we'd finally prove that clothes have no gender." He shook his head, still smiling. Outside, the street lights flickered on. Inside, under their own small halo of light, Harper drew. Adrian watched, and the world was still loud. The internet still had opinions. Headlines still came and went. But in this room, on this floor, with chalk on the walls and a wooden chair that fit her perfectly, Harper Cole Everhart had something the old could never have imagined. A life that didn't ask her to shrink. A love that didn't come with a ledger. And a seat at the table that had always, finally been carved with her name.